Do you think I'm crazy? Honestly, because that's what they told everyone. But I know what I lived through, and if you stay with me, you'll understand why betrayal from a lover is brutal. But betrayal from your own mother rewires your soul. My name's Lily. I'm 27 years old, and I thought I understood heartbreak. I thought I'd already survived the worst, the nights spent crying over men who weren't worth my time, the kind of pain you swear you'll never let happen again. But nothing prepares you for the kind of betrayal that doesn't just break your heart, it scrambles your entire sense of reality. Because when the person who raised you, the woman who tucked you in at night, brushed your hair before school, and swore she'd always protect you, decides to take the one person you love most and make him hers, that doesn't just hurt. It changes who you are. For a year, I lived inside a story that didn't make sense. Little things I ignored. Excuses I believed. Late-night doubts I silenced because I told myself, no, not her, not my mom, and not him either. The man I thought I'd build my life with. I kept telling myself I was paranoid, that grief and stress were making me imagine things. But deep down, I knew. I just didn't want to say it out loud. Because once you say it, once you admit the unthinkable, you can't go back. And that's where my story begins. With the mother I trusted most. The man I loved completely. And the night I finally realized they weren't on my side at all. I met Matthew when my life was still a mess. I just crawled out of a toxic relationship that left me questioning everything about myself, my worth, my judgment, even my sanity. I swore I'd never let someone get that close to me again. But then Matthew showed up. He wasn't flashy or smooth. He didn't flood me with promises or grand gestures. He was steady, consistent, the kind of man who texted good morning every day, who showed up on time, who remembered the little things. And after years of chaos, that felt like oxygen. Over time, he became my anchor. 2 years of building something that actually looked like a future. We talked about kids, about saving for a house, about the kind of life we wanted. Simple, stable, honest. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't just surviving. I was building. And my mom adored him. At first, it felt like a blessing. She'd smile when his name came up. She'd pull me aside to say how lucky I was, how rare it was to find a man like him. She'd even thank him at family dinners for taking such good care of my Lily. It seemed sweet, until it wasn't. Slowly, the compliments shifted. She lingered too long on how handsome he looked. Her questions became oddly personal, about our plans, our routines, even our arguments. Sometimes I'd catch the way she looked at him across the room, eyes soft, almost like she wasn't just a mom proud of her daughter's boyfriend. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself she was just happy for me, that after all I'd been through, maybe she was overcompensating, showing extra love because she knew how fragile I still felt. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a whisper started. A whisper I didn't want to hear. That whisper in the back of my mind only got louder once my mom's tone shifted. 1 minute, she was praising Matthew. The next, she was sliding little daggers into our conversations. He's wonderful, but are you sure he's really committed? Men like that don't usually settle down, Lily. You deserve someone who worships you. I don't know if he does. At first, I laughed it off. My mom had always been protective, maybe even a little critical. But the more she said it, the more it burrowed under my skin. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she saw something I didn't. And then there was that phone call. I'd gone to grab water late at night, and I heard her voice from the living room. Soft, almost secretive. My name wasn't on her lips. Matthew's was. She said it the way you say a name you shouldn't. Slow. Careful. Like it meant more than it should. By the time I stepped into the room, she'd hung up, smiling like nothing had happened. Just a friend, she said. But I knew better. After that, I couldn't unsee the cracks. Matthew started to feel distracted. He was present, but not really with me. He'd already know about things I hadn't told him yet, arguments I'd had with my mom, insecurities I'd only confessed to her. Somehow, she was feeding him my private thoughts before I even had the chance. When I confronted them, separately at first, then together, they both turned it back on me. Lily, you're too sensitive. You've always been paranoid. You twist things in your head. It was the same refrain over and over. My doubts weren't real. My questions weren't valid. According to them, I was just unstable, insecure, seeing shadows that weren't there. And when two people you love start singing the same song, your boyfriend, your mother, you start to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you really are losing it. But deep down, I knew. Something was happening between them. And the worst part? They wanted me to think I was crazy so I'd stop looking. The moment everything shifted came from someone else's eyes, not mine. A friend of mine, Sarah, called one afternoon, hesitant, almost whispering. "Lily, I don't want to upset you, but I just drove past your mom's place. Matthew's car was in the driveway." My stomach dropped. He was supposed to be at work. I wanted to believe there was some innocent reason. Maybe he was helping her fix something. Maybe they'd run into each other by chance. But the excuses didn't even convince me. That night, I asked him, calmly at first, "Were you at my mom's today?" The way his face twisted, not into guilt, but into anger, told me more than words ever could. "You're insane, Lily. You're obsessed. Do you hear yourself? You're making things up in your head again." His voice rose sharp, slicing through the air. And the worst part? He looked relieved to be angry, like it was easier to call me crazy than to explain the truth. When I went to my mom praying she'd be the safe place she'd always been, she said the exact same thing. "Sweetheart, you're imagining things. You've always been dramatic." Her tone wasn't gentle, it was cold, practiced, like they'd rehearsed it. I felt like I was spinning. Two voices I trusted most, echoing each other, both trying to convince me my reality wasn't real. And then came the evidence they couldn't twist away. I stopped by my mom's one evening unannounced. She wasn't home, but the door was unlocked. Inside, on the back of a chair in her living room, was Matthew's shirt. One I'd bought him for his birthday, still smelling like his cologne. No excuse could cover that. No gaslighting could erase what my eyes saw and my hands touched. For weeks, I'd been told I was paranoid, unstable, imagining things. But in that moment, staring at that shirt draped across my mother's chair, I knew the truth. And once you know, you can never unknow. Once I saw that shirt in her living room, I couldn't unsee anything. Every memory I replayed twisted itself into a different shape. The way Matthew and my mom sometimes shared glances I couldn't quite read. How they'd both disappear from a room and come back with excuses that lined up a little too perfectly. The jokes they'd laugh at. Inside jokes that I wasn't part of. Back then, I brushed it off as bonding. Now, it felt like code. I cracked. One night, while Matthew was in the shower, I grabbed his phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely scroll, but I knew I had to see it with my own eyes. And there it was. Hundreds of messages with my mother. Not just casual check-ins, not just, "How's Lily doing?" These were long midnight conversations. Messages about when to meet, messages about what lies to tell me, messages about how to be careful so I wouldn't notice. And the intimacy. God, the intimacy. Little "I love yous." Jokes only couples share. Comments about what they'd done together and what they plan to do again. My chest burned reading them, each word like acid, eating away at everything I thought was solid in my life. But then came the detail that shattered me completely. Buried in the thread, one of the first messages. From before Matthew and I even started dating. "Can't believe you're finally going through with this," my mom had written. "Remember, don't make it too obvious." His reply, "Don't worry. She'll never suspect. Not at first." That was the knife. Not just that they'd betrayed me, but that from the beginning, I wasn't the story. I was the cover, the distraction, the convenient daughter to make their secret easier to hide. I wasn't betrayed halfway through. I was betrayed from the start. Every kiss, every "I love you," every plan for the future. It was all built on a lie they'd been sharing behind my back. And the worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was the realization that my mother hadn't just stolen the man I loved. She'd helped script my entire heartbreak before it even began. I knew I couldn't keep carrying it inside me. The lies, the gaslighting, the constant second-guessing. So I set a trap. I invited them both over one evening, pretending I wanted to clear the air. They sat on opposite sides of the couch, my mother with that careful smile she wore when she thought she was in control, Matthew tense but trying to act casual. I placed his phone on the coffee table, opened to their messages, printed screenshots beside it. And then, silence. Matthew's face drained. My mother's didn't move. Finally, he cracked. His voice was low, almost pleading. I didn't want to choose. I wanted you both. You're safe, Lily. She's exciting. It doesn't mean I don't love you. Safe. Exciting. As if I was a stable meal plan and she was dessert. As if love was something you split into categories and handed out like rations. When I turned to my mom, she didn't apologize. She didn't even look ashamed. She tilted her head like I was a child who didn't understand. Sweetheart, you were fragile. You'd been hurt so badly. I didn't want to tell you. I thought protecting you from the truth was better. Protecting me. That's what she called it. Lying to me. Sleeping with the man I thought I'd marry. Watching me pour my soul into a relationship she knew was poisoned. In that moment, something inside me went cold. I realized neither of them had been protecting me. They'd only been protecting themselves. Their secrecy, their comfort, their little fantasy where I stayed blind. I stood up, shaking but firm. Get out, both of you. Don't come back. They tried to speak, to explain, but I didn't want explanations anymore. I wanted my life back. And the moment the door shut behind them, I finally felt it. Not relief, not peace, but power. For the first time in months, the truth wasn't theirs. It was mine. After that night, I cut them both out. No second chances, no late-night explanations. I blocked Matthew's number, deleted every photo, every message. My mother, that was harder. She'd been my foundation, the person I thought would never turn against me. But I realized something therapy later confirmed. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. Family isn't a free pass to destroy you. So, I set boundaries. Real ones. I stopped answering her calls, stopped showing up at family gatherings, stopped letting guilt drag me back into her orbit. For once, I chose myself over the people who had broken me. Looking back, the hardest part wasn't losing a boyfriend. It wasn't even losing my mother. It was losing the illusion that either of them ever had my best interest at heart. But that loss gave me something better. Clarity. And the strength to say the words I'll never forget. My mom told me to leave him. Not to save me, but to clear her path to him. He chose her over me, and I chose me over both of them. And that choice, that's the one that finally set me free.